Good morning. So I think I told you last week I got my pre-order in for the catalog. Oh, look at that, got some black paint on my finger. Um, and I was playing around a little bit and I wanted to share a card that I was making. So um, this one is with the Angels of Peace, which I think is neat because it could be, or use most likely is going to be a Christmas card, but it's it could be just a, you're an angel card. Thank you so much for, what you do for me or what you do for others or something like that. So I really liked this. And a couple of years, well, maybe more than a couple of years ago now, maybe 8 years ago, I had made this card with the Watercolor Angel, and I just think it came out so pretty. I thought that this one would also do well. So if you can see, I just used a couple pieces of the paper from the Tidings of Christmas. So this is some of the new paper, and it's really pretty patterns and everything in there. And a piece of cherry cobbler in the back. And then, I haven't done anything to the inside yet. I'm still working on that. But then I thought, instead of just having a solid front, it might be prettier to, it still looks the same, but then, just have a half a front. So that's the one that we're going to make today, is the half a front. So let me move this out of the way. So to start, and I put my measurements over here. Hopefully you can see those, but I'll be saying them too. You just use a regular piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, and you fold it in half. That would be what your regular card is. But then I took 2 inches off of the front. So after you fold it, if you'll just take it and cut off 2 inches. Okay, and then you can save that for another project. I'm sure I'll be making something to use that because I'll wind up with quite a few extra pieces. And the reason that I don't just cut off 2 inches to begin with is then you've got to score this in the right place for it to end up right. So if you just fold it in half first and then cut the 2 inches off the half, then you'll know that it's going to be in the right place. Okay, so then we're just going to put the card together and then we're going to work on the watercolor. Then I have the 2 pieces of cherry cobbler, and I wanted just a really, really thin mat. I didn't want my usual 1/4 inch, so I really am more like 1/8 of an inch. And I have a piece for the front here. You can see that just leaves the tiniest of borders. And I think that looks really pretty. Where did my runner go? There it is. Really pretty when you're going to use more than one mat is just to have the really thin border. I don't know, it gives it a little bit of elegance or something to me. It's a little bit harder to get your lines straight, so you've got to be real careful with that. And then I have this piece of designer series paper, which is 5 1/4 by 2, which would be your normal size for if you just put the evergreen and the designer series paper without the cherry cobbler in between. These would have been the sizes also. Get up just a little bit. Okay. All right, so now I've got that. And then on the inside, I'll put the piece of cherry cobbler that's 5 3/8 by 2. I really like using this stamp and seal. It holds so much better than the old snail used to. Okay, and then my other piece of designer series paper, which is 5 1/4 by 1 7/8, will just go on top of that. You can see it's very quick and easy to put together. Okay, but then when it's folded shut, it looks like it's a solid piece, just like my original card. You wouldn't really notice the difference until we're going to put the angel on there. I'll add the white piece after I stamp it because, if I put that in there now, and then I mess up when I stamp, then I can't do anything. But this way I could always turn it over and use the other side. So let me just put that to the side. All right, so I used a piece of watercolor paper. And again, we sell that. It comes in these pieces that are 6 by 9 inches. So I got 3 angels out of one piece. And I embossed it in silver. And I've done this ahead of time because I hate for you all to have to listen to that heat gun going. And we can do embossing another time because today was really about watercolor. All right, so once I've embossed it in silver, and the reason I emboss is because then that gives me like little walls where the paint, the watercolor is not going to go where I don't want it to go. Okay, so to watercolor then you need a non-porous surface. So either a glass block or you can use one of these silicone pads. I'm going to use the glass block today just because I want to be able to see the colors really well. And you can also use, you know how we've done sometimes where you get the ink on the lid and then open it up and take it from there. You can also do it that way. It doesn't really matter. You can put a drop of re-inker on here and use that. You can pretty much do anything you like, but this is an easy way. So if you take your pen and just put some ink on the block, and then instead of squeezing this time because that gets so much, I'm just going to dip it in water and pick up some of this color. And I'm just going to, now one of the couple keys to watercoloring. One is that you want to leave some white spaces. You don't want the whole thing to be solid. So you're going to go and leave some white. And if you start light, you can always go back and go darker. See how the embossing like just kind of works like a little wall. I might have to go ahead and squeeze some out of here. Like a wall to keep the ink where you want it. Okay. Now, when you're watercoloring and you want to change to a different color, all you have to do is just wipe your brush. And you can do that on a paper towel or a napkin or something if you want, or you can just like I did, do it on your thing here. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit of, oh, I didn't get a brown. Just a little bit of a brown on here to do her hair. And I'm letting that green dry just a little bit because I'm going to go back and add some color to it. Okay, and then I might do a little bit of pink for her face. This you can hardly see on the block, but it does give you some color once you put that down on her hand. Now the bird, normally because it's so small, I just color it in with my marker a little bit, and then I'll take my water and add that to it, and that kind of will come outside the lines a little bit. If I had my, I've got a tissue. There we go. Get some of that off of there. Okay, so with the green now, I want to go back and maybe add some, so you can see you wind up with some lighter and some darker areas. And you can, if you really like to spend some time on it, you can, do the darker areas where the shadows would be and things like that. But I think it comes out fine if I just add some darker to some of the areas. Okay, so then after watercoloring, if you notice, see that looks kind of flat. But if you add a yellow all the way around, I did it there and I did it on that original one too. I think it just adds something. I don't know what it is, what you would call it, but I like to add. Now this one I'm adding is actually Delightful Dijon, but it doesn't matter what yellow you use. The crushed curry would work. This was just the pen I had laying around, so I thought I'd pick that one up. And then I'm just going all the way around with it. And I don't know why, to me, it just adds a nice look. Kind of gives her maybe a golden background. I don't know. But when you look sometimes at watercolors that people have done like this, you'll see that they've put either a yellow or a gray or something like that behind it. Okay, so see how she looks so much more, I don't know, not flat. I think if you just, and that just, you saw how quick that was. That was way quick. All right, now for the wings, you could do Wink of Stella, which I've got out here. And that's going to add a little bit of shimmer to her wings. I didn't want to color them, although you could. A silver or something if you wanted to. But see, that Wink of Stella will give it just a little bit. On the original one, and it's still drying, I had put some of the shimmery crystal effects. So that will also give you the same kind of thing. Okay, so then because I've got her in silver, we've got in the new catalog this silver foil. And I don't know if you can see it or not. So it's got a dark, that's really kind of got a linen look to it, a dark piece, and it's got a lighter piece in there. So you've got two different silvers. Could have used either, but I kind of liked the dark with this. Okay, so before I put this on, I'm just going to tell you, sometimes this really upsets me to have to use this big piece of specialty paper and then cover up the whole thing, right? So I hate that. So sometimes what I will do is I will take and cut something out of this paper before I put her on top, because that then will allow me to use it, and you're not going to see it anyway. So for instance, I got these Giving Gifts dies. So I could cut like some of these scenes or something out of it and then cut around them and have something to put on a tag. I could also use the cutouts that came with my seasonal label dies, which is what I think I'm going to use. And I could cut, like a whole piece or something. Now, unfortunately, on this card, what I'm thinking about, this is going to show, see, because I'm going to put this here. So I can't cut out as big of a piece as I normally would, but I can still cut a little piece out of this side because that's not going to show. And that way I'm not using up the whole piece of paper that you're not even going to be able to see. So I'll just use my little cut and emboss. We'll stick this in here right quick. So I want to stick this way over to the one side where it's not going to show, not all the way to the side, because I need the border behind the angel. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so now I've got this that I can use as a label on another card. And when I put her on here, see, you're not going to notice that that's gone. Go ahead, and I think she's dry enough that I can turn her upside down. If I was, I think I tilted it just right there at the end, just a little bit, but that's okay. All right. So now I'm going to attach her on the front. So I only want to attach on this side. And see, if I had cut a larger piece out, I could have used it on my original card where I had a solid front. There it is. Because none of that would show. See, because I had the whole thing. This one, because this is going to show, I had to just use the one side. So see, when I open, you don't notice that I've cut something out of the other side, but yet I didn't. I still got another use out of that paper. All right, so then I can stamp my sentiment. And I think I'm going to go ahead and make this a Christmas card, just because that's what I will be using it for. I may stamp it in the lighter, the soft succulent. I love these two greens that came with the new in colors. I always try it on my placemat first. You can see that I'm not quite straight. I'll put that up towards the top maybe. Okay, so that's not too bad. Now this watercolor technique doesn't have to be done on an angel or on a Christmas card even. It can be done, we've done like flowers, like that hibiscus flower, and things like that, that are just really, really pretty when you watercolor. I'm going to butt this right up next to that, which of course, see, you don't see. So, so my original card, again, I did a solid front, and then I would add a piece of white on the inside and decorate that. But this one, I just think it gives it a little something when you just have the half a card. And then I've got this extra piece I can use on another card. I cut out the little label that I could actually even use that on this one if I wanted to add something to the front and a little thing there. So I hope that you've enjoyed the watercolor technique and that you will try that. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks.